sloping agricultural land technology for resource conservation and economic upliftment in Shiwaliks. In India, out of 328 million hectare geographical area, about 28.35% is mountainous and majority of this is in Himalayas. Shiwalik Himalayas are the outer Himalayas and most part of this lies in foothills of northwestern Himalaya and comprises of 3.33 million hectare. These Shiwalik Himalayas have been formed by deposition of material eroded from the Himalayas and hence are fragile and prone to erosion. Keeping them under vegetative cover is urgent to protect them from erosion. Thus, a need was felt to develop suitable land use technology for economic utilization of these sloping lands in Shiwalik region. Thus, the plan was prepared with three objectives: to develop a suitable agriculture land technology for sloping region in Shiwaliks, to evaluate resource conservation and production capability of these lands, and to work out economics of the developed model. To achieve these objectives, major interventions were salt model with water harvesting structure at foothills, salt model with suitable in situ moisture conservation practices, and traditional practices for managing the sloping lands. A 3-hectare area having 12 to 15% slope was selected. It was divided into 3 parts of 1 hectare each. The contour map of these lands were prepared and treatments were imposed. Salt 1 and Salt 2 were having similar features. However, in Salt 1, water harvesting was done at the lowest point and the harvested water was recycled for irrigation. In the farmer practices, agriculture was followed in plain lands. At the lowest point of all 3 system, gauging stations were constructed to measure runoff and soil loss. The schematic view of the land use and actual field view for 1 hectare sloping land is shown. Upper 1/3 area was kept under permanent cover in form of agroforestry system, that is silvi-horti pasture. In middle 1/3 slope, terrace farming was done with hedgerow intercropping and bottom 1/3 portion was kept for agriculture and water harvesting. On upper 1/3 portion of land, Melia and Amla were planted at a spacing of 5 by 5 meter. To conserve moisture for better survival, trench cum pit method was used for planting. In between tree rows, natural fodder grass was allowed to grow, thus the system was silvi-horti pasture. In middle 1/3 portion, newly formed terraces were not stable and soil erosion occurred in initial years. To check soil erosion and diversify production, on the terrace risers, Leucaena was grown at 1 meter running length. In addition, after every 5 meter interval, 1 guava sapling was also planted. The gravel percent on the terraces was about 25 to 30%. On the basis of gravel percent on the terraces and lower 1/3 area, crops such as kulthi, maize, taramira were grown. At the lowest point of Salt 1, a pond was dug with the capacity of 0.12 hectare meter. Due to high percentage of gravel, the seepage was high. Thus, lining with LDPE sheet covered with 1:6 ratio of cement and soil was done. It reduced the seepage and water was available in pond up to winter season. The fish were reared from July to November in the pond. Thus, overall sloping agriculture land use system was developed which had 7 components: 2 types of fruits, that is amla and guava, 2 crops, that is rabi and kharif, 1 fodder, that is Leucaena leucocephala, and 1 timber, that is from Melia aziderec, and 1 animal meat, that is from fish. Resource conservation capability of salt. Runoff and soil loss was measured in initial stage of establishment and after establishment of system. Runoff increased whereas soil loss decreased in Salt 1 because water was suitably channelized into the pond for storage, whereas in farmer practice runoff was not channelized, which increased the soil loss. The cost of digging of pond and its lining was worked out. The cost of storing per cubic meter of water was rupees 185 only. The per unit yield of natural grasses growing on bund was about 14 kg per meter running length, which amounted to 3.4 tons per hectare in system. The fuel wood yield was 1.76 tons and fodder yield was 1 ton from the system per year. Economics of salt model. Benefit cost ratio of sloping agricultural land with water harvesting and without harvesting, and farmer practices were compared for a period of 10 years. It was found that water harvesting in long run had higher advantage as it can sustain production. The cost of initial investment can also be recovered in lesser time in system where water harvesting component existed. Payback period of cost incurred in construction of pond can be recovered in about 4.5 years only if wheat cultivation is taken into account for irrigation. With 7 different production components in 1 hectare land, the sloping agriculture land system is capable of providing output to the farmer at regular intervals, that is, all 4 quarters of the year from one component or the other. Thus, the system has capability of ensuring and diversifying livelihood security and also natural resource conservation. The system with minor modification like choice of different species as per farmer requirement is suitable for about 40% of Shiwalik region, which is around 1 million hectare. The intervention has transformed the lantana infested area prone to soil erosion to a land use which is capable of producing different components at each quarter of the year. Besides having aesthetic look, it also conserves natural resources. For further detail and any inquiry regarding the system, one can contact head of the research center Chandigarh or director Indian Institute of Soil and Water Conservation, Dehradun. Thank you very much.